All right, man. Welcome back into the Double Coverage Podcast. Me and Javon are fresh off of watching Wembanyama probably take over the NBA. We just watched game one of the Western Conference Finals, and Wemby's an absolute dog. That's all I got to say on that. He's insane.
He's gonna be unstoppable one day. If they had a Wemby in the NFL, I don't know who would probably.
I don't even know what a Wemby in the NFL would look like, man. That's the crazy part. I mean, that'd be like a 6'7" wide receiver.
It'd be like LeBron if he went to the NFL.
Fair enough. Today we're going to bring you guys some AFC over-under win totals. The schedule has been released, so we got a little bit more accurate representation. All the lines are coming from FanDuel, if you're wondering where I'm getting them from. We're going to go division by division here. I'll probably put some timestamps down below for that for you guys to kind of bounce around. And we're just going to go in the order of the teams that they finished last year. So this isn't a prediction or whatever. It's just that's what it is. So we'll start with the team that represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. We'll start with the AFC East, the New England Patriots, man. Their over-under win total for this upcoming season is 9.5 wins. They just won, I believe it was 14 games last year. I think 13. So potential drop-off potentially on the way. Obviously, the schedule is going to be harder. You know, the Patriots are a team that you maybe have to predict them to get a little bit of an upgrade in A.J. Brown. Not sure if the lines are baked in with that number there, but I'll kick it to you, man. Do you think the Pats go over or under this line?
I think it's going to be over. To go from – I mean, it's not like they were supposed to be in the Super Bowl, but just to go from being in the Super Bowl to not even winning double-digit games, and I think people would agree that the roster is going to improve if they get A.J. Brown.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be a 4-game drop-off. I don't think the division has gotten that much better, and I don't think they've gotten that much worse as a team either, besides, of course, their coaching drama and all that other shit. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, I agree with you there. I look at the Pats. I have them over. I went through and did their schedule, and I think that I had them at about 10-7, which, you know, obviously one game could make a shift there. But you look at their division, and this team has 4 wins in their division, basically guaranteed. Like, you're not convincing. I mean, listen, you're not convincing me that they're not at worst going 4-2 in their division this upcoming season. They play some other first place teams that were first place last year. Your Steelers, the Jaguars, who maybe people wouldn't see as real full juggernauts at this point in time. They have some games against the AFC West, which is a tough division, and the NFC North. So that's a little tougher there. Obviously, they play Seattle to open up the season. But I think for New England, they're going to be a good team. Drake May, to me, is a top 10 for sure quarterback in football. I have him in the top 5, but I think we could all kind of agree at this point he's a top 10 guy, finished runner-up for MVP last year. The team has tried to improve. The defense is still really solid with that secondary, Gonzo and Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones back there. So I think for New England, while they may take a step back this year, 9.5 is a little bit too low for me, particularly. I think you kind of said it best, where it's this team was just in the Super Bowl and just won 13 games. They'd have to have a 4-game drop-off, and I just don't see that happening when I believe in your quarterback and head coach.
Yeah, and saying under will basically be saying, oh, yeah, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs as well. Because it's like, are you really going to get into the playoffs in either conference with 9 wins?
I mean, I think it's possible that 10 doesn't get you in. I mean,
it's on the board. It's on the board. Because there's probably going to be a division with 3 teams in the AFC. That wouldn't surprise me. You got the AFC West, maybe AFC North, you know. I mean, who knows? It could happen.
Yeah, for sure. So we both have the Pats going over. The Buffalo Bills, man, their line is set at 10.5 wins. To me, this is another over. Just kind of ever since Josh Allen has risen to who he has been, the Buffalo Bills haven't had a season where they won under 11 games. If I'm still going to get the line at 10.5, where basically Josh Allen and the Bills would have to have their worst season in the Josh Allen era for them to hit the under, I'll take the over and just kind of bet on this guy staying healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're gonna agree a lot, but I mean, they got a new head coach. You know, they
But their
promote.
new head coach was their offensive coordinator, so I
Yeah,
think a lot stays the same.
well, yeah, it's gonna stay the same, but you got to think that Josh Allen maximizing him is gonna be more of a priority. I know he just won MVP a year or two ago, but you got to think that his stats are at least gonna have a significant jump
Yeah.
next year. And who knows how their offense looks, but they added DJ Moore, and I think that's one of the most underrated moves of the offseason so far.
Well, our guy Darian hopped on TikTok and said this could be the most complete team that Josh Allen has ever had in the Buffalo Bills era. Like, it's James Cook is one of the top tier running backs in football. It's probably one of the better wide receiving cores in totality that he's had, especially if you factor in the weapons at tight end, along with Kincaid, Knox, Shakir, DJ Moore that you mentioned. The offensive line is still stout. The defensive line, you have Bradley Chubb. You went out and drafted a guy as well high in TJ Parker. So
Yeah.
they have dudes there. The secondary's gotten better. So I personally think Buffalo's Super Bowl window is still open, and we'll talk about that as the summer goes on. But 10.5 wins to me feels kind of low, especially for a team that's playing a second place schedule. And I know that their second place schedule isn't the easiest in the world. Like, obviously they have teams like Houston that they got to face. They have to face Baltimore and they have to face Kansas City. So that's really not that great. But similar to what I talked about with New England, like, you have to figure there's 4 wins in this division for Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean,
Whether it's splitting with New England and losing a freak one to the Jets or the Dolphins, but realistically, 5 wins in your division is probably where the bar is for the Buffalo Bills. You want to split with New England, and you should sweep the Jets and Dolphins.
yeah. What makes the Bills interesting, I think, like you said and Darian said, they may have the best supporting cast for Josh Allen, maybe that he's had since being on the Bills or whatever. But you got to think, every quarterback, they have their 1 year where they miss it. Lamar just missed it. Patrick Mahomes, injuries, but
I think
they probably weren't going to make the playoffs anyway.
I think a lot of Lamar's missing it was injury, though, last year. I will say that. Like, he was banged up and in and out.
Yeah, I don't.
I'll also say with Josh's size, though, he's a big dude. It's hard for me. He hasn't had injury problems at all in his career.
He hasn't, but neither did Mahomes. And,
But to be fair, Mahomes in that offense were bad before Mahomes got hurt.
Yeah,
there was just clear issues there. Listen, and I have Buffalo personally winning 13 games. Maybe that's a little high, but I think we both agree.
We have Josh Allen.
Yeah, and that's going to be a perennial MVP type player. So we both agree there. Drake May, Josh Allen lead their teams to overs. So we got 2 more teams in this AFC East. Miami came in 3rd last year. Their over-under total for this upcoming season with Malik Willis at quarterback now is 4.5 wins. Miami obviously ripped the floorboards out. Malik Willis is in at quarterback now. Jeff Hapley's in at head coach, a new GM. Where do you stand on this line?
I'm gonna go under, bro.
I'm also going under. I think this has a shot to be the worst team in football next year. And you look back to the teams that were the worst this year, the Raiders won 3 games.
I mean, I don't see their wide receiver 1 is like a wide receiver 4 on an average team. So they're just going to have trouble moving the ball. Hopefully you can just develop Caden Proctor. I know he was in tackle in college. They're moving him to guard. Chop Robinson, can he show flashes of just being worth the high pick they spend on him? They got some pieces that they just want to develop. They're just using this as kind of like a gap year, dare I say, even though they just signed Malik to a 3-year deal, but he's clearly not going to be the quarterback for the future. I just don't see a world where long-term, he's just going to be their starter. So
I have to be honest. You could set this line at 2.5 and I wouldn't take the over.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds like hating. I just want to clarify the Dolphins' schedule to people. Obviously, they have 6 games in division. You figure they could maybe split with the Jets. They play the NFC North and the AFC West, which you could argue are the two best divisions in football.
They
And
are.
then their third place schedule has them going up against the Colts, the 49ers, and the Bengals. Like, I don't know where we'd be pulling wins from for Miami. Like, I can't fathom finding 5 wins on this schedule. The only games on this schedule that on paper seem winnable are the Raiders week 1, the Jets games, and maybe by midseason the Colts if Daniel Jones suffers like an injury or something. Like, I'm just not pulling 5-6 wins for this team anywhere.
Yeah, man. I mean, granted, every year you always look at the schedule at the end of the season, like, man, how did we lose this game? And then you lost to the Dolphins or you lost to the Raiders. So, maybe they have a game or two where they get lucky, but it's safe to say they're going to be the underdogs in every single game. That's not even a hot take.
I think that's like actuality. They are actuality like underdogs in every one of their games right now.
And even if they don't end the season as the worst team in football on paper, or like the record-wise on paper, this is the worst roster in football. I can say that for sure.
And again, hard schedule. They're clearly on a let's get a good pick in next year's draft, whether Malik Willis showed us. Like, if they had a season similar to the Cardinals, right, where the Cardinals did not win a lot of games last year, but they were in a lot of competitive games. If Malik Willis showed that, then maybe you use that top 3 pick that you get on Jeremiah Smith and get him a piece. But I think we all kind of know the Dolphins are going to be set up for a top pick in next year's draft. So for me, that's under on the 4.5 for you as well. We're 3 for 3 in sync thus far. The New York Football Jets, man, they come in at 5.5 wins as their over under this upcoming season. I thought when I saw the line originally that I was going to go over because there's a lot of vets on this team, a lot of skill position guys that I like. I ended up going under. And to me, I think this says a little bit more about that I think the Jets have a tough schedule rather than that I don't think the Jets are good. Again, 4 games against the Patriots and Bills. Not ideal there. You play the NFC North, so the Lions, the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers. You play the AFC West, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders. Your 4th place schedule, though, does give you games against the Titans, the Browns, and the Cardinals. So those are obviously winnable games, but I don't think that the Jets are by any means miles ahead of those teams, and only one of those games is a home game, the game against Cleveland. You're on the road at Tennessee, you're on the road at Arizona. So to me, the Jets' schedule was just too hard for me to foresee Geno Smith, especially the Geno Smith that we saw last season, getting this team to 6 wins. I think realistically more in the 2 to 5 area is where this team will end up.
Wow. I'm kind of shocked, especially since they have to play the Dolphins.
Yeah. I mean, are you over? You over?
I'm definitely over. I think Aaron Glenn, being the head coach, he's going to be coaching for his life, and this defense has significantly upgraded for sure. And on offense, they've given Geno Smith basically everything you could possibly want, being the New York Jets. They went out and got Kenyon Sadiq, and to pair with Mason Taylor, that's 2 security blankets. Omar Cooper is basically another security blanket in the slot as well. If Adonai Mitchell can take a big leap this year, they could be a decent offense. I don't think it's crazy to say that. And they got veterans on defense. They got young guys on defense as well. If their pass rush can produce, which it's supposed to with their head coach,
yeah,
I mean, their schedule is not as hard. Like I don't think it's that hard.
I think their schedule is brutal, man. To me, that's the factor that comes because I think that schedule is brutal.
I mean, if you told me they beat the Broncos, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be utterly shocked. Shocked.
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think their defense is going to be.
I mean, I know that I'm higher on Denver than most people, and we'll certainly get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, but that's probably the wrong team to be his example for you. But
for me,
their defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. If Breece Hall he's probably going to be the the
That
X factor
Broncos
of the
game,
team.
to be fair, they are home and they are coming off of their bye week, so there is a little
Hey,
bit something there for you.
yeah, I think the Jets will be decent this year.
Hey, we finally had a disagreement, man. Everybody let us know in the comment section. Are you at over under Jets 5.5? Settle the debate for us. One that I don't think we'll be debating about as we move here to the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Do you know your Steelers line? Do you know the line?
Probably 8.5.
7.5.
What? It got lower? Oh my gosh.
They signed Aaron Rodgers and the line went down. So I'll ask you, over or under 7.5?
We're winning 8 games, bro. Like, we do this every year. I feel stupid like making my case to people because it's like, bro, I don't even know why, but because we're not supposed to hit over every year, but somehow we do every year. Now, Coach Tomlin isn't there anymore, and maybe that changes the dynamic in the locker room a little bit, but we got better as a team, bro. And we got better as a team. We actually have weapons now. It's not freaking Adam Thielen and MVS.
RB1 Caleb Johnson at practice, I'm seeing.
Man, I don't know about that, but Jalen Warren has been consistent every year. Rico Dowdle, I finally feel like we have a real running back, even explosive running back, because even when we had Najee Harris, he runs like his feet are stuck in the mud. But I feel like we got an explosive running back room now that could be, average. But to say we're gonna win 8 games, like 8 and 9, bro, like, I don't know. I feel like you're just saying like you're just betting against Aaron Rodgers at that point, him breaking down. I feel like that would be your bet.
Well, I think the biggest thing is the Steelers, I believe, got better as a team from last year. The thing is, I believe every team in their division got better from last year. So that's kind of where I do think that not necessarily because the Steelers got better does it mean they're going to win more games than they won last year. However, they won 10 games last year, and the line is set at 7.5. So I'm going to join you here on the over because I think that this team getting better along with the division more likely points to them being kind of stagnant and winning 9 or 10 games and still being a good competitive team. I don't see them taking a jump and a leap to 12 wins with the roster growth. I still think that Aaron Rodgers really started kind of showing his age in the second half of last season, and it all kind of culminated in that playoff game. Personally, if I was running the Steelers, I wouldn't have brought him back this year, but I digress there in that situation. We're talking over-unders. You know that they're going to be competitive in all their divisional games. You know that the players there are veterans that have experience in that situation. I'd expect them to at least be 500 in the divisional games. Probably nobody's played Lamar Jackson tougher than Pittsburgh, and I know Tomlin's not there, but again, that personnel has given him trouble in the past. And you go and you look at Pittsburgh's schedule, it's not the worst in the world. They get matched up this season with the NFC South. That's a fairly easy schedule to match up against in terms of those teams. And then what's the other division they got here? Do they have the AFC South as well? Yeah, looks like so both South divisions, again, not the toughest in the world. We just talked about the AFC East, and they were matched up against the NFC North and the AFC West. This AFC North gets both Souths. Like, that's a pretty friendly draw. So to me, it is Mike Tomlin the sauce that kept this team above 500. We'll find out this year, but I don't think so, man. I think that it's still just the personnel.
So you're going under?
Over.
Okay, over. Okay, thank God.
No, I'm going over. I'm just saying I don't expect this team to improve record-wise from last year, despite getting better, because I think the division as a whole got better. However, they're still going to win 9 or 10 games, I think. I still think they're going to be the Steelers.
See, I don't think the other teams got that much better. Like, they filled some weaknesses, so maybe they'll be better marginally. But you look at the Ravens offense, it's the exact same.
Well, let's talk about the Ravens. Let's talk about Baltimore. Their line, they came in second, and their line is set at 11.5 wins.
Under.
I'm also on the under.
Yeah, I mean,
11.5 is very high.
And I don't know, this thing about all these teams, every team can't get better. Like, it's just how the NFL works. There's always going to be a disappointing team. And maybe it was Mike Tomlin being able to coach against Lamar, but I know the Steelers don't fear Lamar Jackson at all. You know, we've managed to somehow beat him every single year, at least one time since he's been in the NFL. But not only that, the only real ad they have is Trey Hendrickson for real. Like, they haven't really added nobody, and he's, I don't want to say washed, but I don't think his impact is going to be as big as it should be, or it would be if they had Max Crosby. I can at least say that much, you know?
I like the Trey Hendrickson addition. I especially like it when you start to factor in the draft that they had too. I think Madubuike is going to be back. That's like kind of what doctors are saying, that he's going to be back. And while he's not an addition to the team, he didn't play at all for them last year, so he's an addition in that sense that they'll finally be getting him. They drafted Zion Young, so I think their edge rusher group, when you start to factor in Mike Green as well, that's kind of, a big improvement from a unit that they didn't have much success with last year. I thought in the rest of the draft, like they got Vega Ioane, a pick that I really liked. Surratt and Lane are two wide receivers that I liked out of the draft. So I do think Baltimore did improve the roster. The number one thing is going to be, can Lamar Jackson stay healthy? And truth be told, I think if Lamar stays healthy and plays all 17 games, this team going 11-6 isn't that crazy and wouldn't be a failure of a season. But the line being at 11.5, where you have a quarterback who, one, has had some injury concerns in the past, but two, we saw last season, if he's not playing at 100%, it affects the team a tremendous amount and affects the offense a tremendous amount. To me, there's a lot of different variables that could easily lead to this team hitting under 11.5. I know the schedule isn't that hard, but it's a big bar. So for that reason, I lean the under. I had them at 11-6 when I went through and did the schedule. So again, that's in a perfect world of everybody staying healthy. So I'm good on the under there as well.
Well, I want to say one more thing. So a lot of people are saying this could be Lamar Jackson's last year as a Raven as well. He's going to be playing for an extension. You know, his extension time is creeping up on him. So he has kind of something to play for. And if there's one thing we know about Lamar Jackson, when he has something to play for, he always plays better. You know, so maybe this upcoming season we could expect him to run a little more. You know, because last season he wasn't running as much. The last couple of years he hasn't been running as much.
And Jesse Minter comes in, new offensive coordinator, and Declan comes over from the Bears. So I think it could be a fun Ravens team.
Yeah.
But again, just a lot up in the air. And to stamp that they're going to win 12-plus games is like a very hefty stamp. If the line was set at 10.5, I would have, probably leaned over. 9.5, I certainly would have. And speaking of 9.5, that is where the Cincinnati Bengals line currently sits today. The Bengals are a really interesting team for me when it comes to these betting lines, because if you watched my AFC North way too early predictions video, I predicted the Bengals to come in second in the division. If you listen to my record prediction right now, I'd tell you that I have them at 10-7. But when it comes to betting on this line, I think the smart money is on the under.
What?
And I know it's contradictory to what I just said, but when we were talking about these betting lines, we have to start talking about the risk of what these guys are going to be. And when I go through record prediction, I'm not predicting injury to take place, but there is such a high likelihood of injury, even if it's just for a short amount of time for a guy like Joe Burrow, that under 9.5 wins at plus money. I mean, they haven't hit the over on this line in years. I do think that the team got better. I really do. I love the Dexter Lawrence addition. I love Boye Mafe. I love Brian Cook. I love drafting Cassius Howe. I think that they made a real effort on their defense to spend money when and where they could. And they have the best possible defense on paper that I think you could have when you're paying Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. And I do think in a perfect world, no BS, Cincinnati could be in the Super Bowl. This reminds me of the team that got to the Super Bowl originally, truth be told. But when it comes to, is that secondary going to hold up? Is that offensive line going to hold up? Is Joe Burrow going to stay healthy? They are in a competitive division. I'd put my money on plus money under 9.5.
Yeah, I'm slamming the under. I'm not going to. And honestly, Joe Burrow doesn't really play that big of a factor. I think they were still competent Oh no, yeah, with Joe Flacco under the center as well. Like the Steelers lost to Joe Flacco. and Jamar Chase had like 16 receptions. Like it's still fresh on my mind. So I don't know. I don't think Joe Burrow, they still have competent veteran quarterback play. Of course, it's not going to be the same when you have an MVP caliber quarterback back there. But like I said, their pickups are marginal. Like they got marginally better. You know, of course, Dexter Lawrence is an upgrade, but I feel like they're still going to have the same problems as last year in the secondary. Their linebacker group, Swiss cheese. It's very young. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff next season, regardless. You know, the running back Chase Brown, he peaked rookie year. Really, didn't have the same year last year. He was good, but you know, it's trending not in the right direction. So that's more reliant on the quarterback, and maybe that's because they're trailing in games or whatever. But you know, I feel like it's really just going to be the same thing all over again, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to look and we're going to see Joe Burrow go 5 years without making the playoffs, and now there's no more excuses at that point. Like, what more excuse do you have?
I think it could easily happen, man. Again, when it comes to my predictions, I try not to predict injury to happen. But this show, we're talking about betting over-unders, and it's a different ball game about where smart money goes. And I think smart money goes on plus money for a team to do what they've been doing.
Like, I think in a perfect world, what do you think in a perfect world, they're 10-7, no injuries, no nothing?
I think 10-7, 11-6 in a perfect world.
Okay, yeah, I'll give them 10 wins in a perfect world. Especially they're in a rough division too, so they lose to the Browns every year.
But again, like you are up against the NFC and AFC South, so you got Titans, you got Falcons on the schedule. Like I think there's some winnable games there. The last team in this AFC North, the Cleveland Browns, man. I came into this thinking I was going to bet the Browns over. And then I saw the line, and it's 6.5, and I'll take the under on 6.5.
No way.
Yeah, it's 6.5. To be fair, it's minus 160 under 6.5. So you're not really, like in terms of betting, you're not really getting a lot of juice on the under. But I just can't convince myself a quarterback room of Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel is going to finesse 7 wins out of a football season.
This schedule is possible, bro. I'm not gonna lie. They got Titans.
I did my predictions. I had them at 4 wins.
Raiders, Saints. These are winnable, bro. Jets.
I'm not saying that they're unwinnable.
Seven wins is high though.
That's what I'm saying. I think you need some breaks there to go your way to get to 7.
Yeah, I don't even think they got better as a roster, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like the way they draft, their defense is already good.
I mean, I think they fixed the left side of their line, which I think was causing a lot of problems for them last year. I still just don't think it matters because I don't think they have the guy at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like the way they drafted is like they're just throwing darts at a wall and just hoping something sticks. Maybe if we can hit on one of these guys, Boston, KC, one of these guys.
Me personally, I think they're actually setting up a great foundation for when they do get a guy that they believe in 2027.
I mean, we'll see. I just don't like a young offensive group. Like, I don't know. Like 2 rookie receivers, like
Concepcion, Fannin, Boston, Judkins, Sampson. Like I think that's a really good offensive nucleus of weapons, and I think that they did improve the offensive line. But Dylan Gabriel is ass. Like I think we could just start there. He's ass. Deshaun Watson hasn't played in 2 years, and somehow is ahead of Shedeur Sanders right now in early reports for the starting job. So that tells me
Green too.
So that tells me Shedeur's not really growing. And Taylor Green, I think, is a project, which I guess I get why you drafting him later in the draft and bringing him in.
The roster.
But to me, it's just like the quarterback for the 2027 Browns team is not yet on the roster. And if I feel that way, I can't pick them to win 7 games. Like if the line was 5.5, I think it'd be a lot more interesting. But 6.5, I'm not even tempted to bet that over.
Yeah, I know this is a little off topic, but I literally told you today the Browns' best shot at rebuilding this team is to trade Myles Garrett for as much as you can. Like yesterday, if you could have got 4 first-round picks for him or however. There's somebody who'll give you a couple first-round picks for Myles Garrett. Like, if Max Crosby would have went for that, Myles Garrett.
Oh, Myles Garrett would go for a ton.
A king's ransom.
I also think, like, at the deadline, though, you might be able to get more for Garrett than right now. Like, I think there's going to be – like, I think if you get to the deadline, you mentioned the Bears. Like, if the Bears are behind Detroit by a game or two, but they feel like everything's clicking offensively, the defense just needs a disruptor, like, that's where you get the Bears to go. Like, I mean, Sauce Gardner went for 2 first-round picks. I know Sauce is much.
Not gonna happen.
I know Sauce is much younger, but Myles Garrett, one, is better at his position. He's the best offensive player on the planet right now, and he plays a more premier position. So, hey, man,
they have a bright future.
There's a lot of draft capital in that. A team I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on. We're shifting gears here to the AFC South. The winners of the AFC South last year, winning 13 games, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their line is set at 9.5. Are you over or under?
I'm going to go under.
I'm also under.
Man, we're going to agree on everything. That's crazy. That's good. Man, I mean, who knows? Maybe Trevor Lawrence shaved his hair off. Maybe it's a new.
Well, that was a wig. It wasn't even real.
Oh, really? I didn't even know.
Yeah, that wasn't even real.
Well, he needs to really do it. But I mean, I don't know who's gonna run the ball for them. That's like the biggest red flag.
Chris Rodriguez and Bashaw Tootin. That's the running back room right now.
What are they doing? They didn't even draft anybody, bro. They could have drafted.
I know.
Like,
their draft was a disaster, and they didn't have money to spend this offseason, right? We kind of all knew that. So losing Devin Lloyd, the centerpiece of your defense, that sucks. Losing Travis Etienne, your most consistent offensive producer who ran for 1,100 yards last year, that sucks. You had to have a home run draft, and I thought that they had the worst draft in the league. And when I look at this team, they have a first-place schedule. When I look at this team, they're asking Trevor Lawrence to do more. Because, one, his defense isn't going to be as good, and 2, his run game isn't going to be as good. And when I start to think about those two things and the quality of opponents that they have, I start to think not only are the Jags going to go under 9.5 wins, but if Robert Saleh cooks in Tennessee, I think it's more likely that the Jags finish in 4th place in their division than 1st place.
That's not crazy to say. And if things are looking bad at the trade deadline, Brian Thomas Jr. has popped up in trade talks last season. I mean, if anything, I think they should trade for a running back. There's a couple guys who've popped up, Najee Harris, maybe the other B. Robinson.
I mean, Najee's a free agent.
Oh, he's a free agent? I thought he was still on the Chargers for a year.
Nope. Just give him a vet minimum deal.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they haven't brought in another running back.
Bro, it's insane. Someone is going to get fired after this season because of giving Trevor Lawrence that contract, because of having a draft where there's so many D tackles of value and you're still rolling in there with Eric Armstead, banking on Eric Armstead production, trading up to get Travis Hunter with no plan for him. Now they're just going to
do you know what I think last year was? I think last year was the 2022 Miami Dolphins.
I mean,
where the offense was excellent, new head coach, tons of weapons, they win the division, and it all goes to shit after that season. I think the Jags are all going downhill right now.
Yeah, I mean,
I think at best they're the 3rd best team in the division. Like Houston and the Colts, I'll take over them.
They got worse for sure. I can tell you that. And Jacoby Myers, he played a big role, in the second half of the season. So maybe the pass game can still look decent, but they're going to be one-dimensional for sure. And that's never worked out for the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. So
no, it has not. We'll move on to the team that finished in 2nd, the Houston Texans. Their line is set at 9.5 wins as well, man. How you feeling?
Over.
Yeah.
9.5.
I mean, the defense itself could probably win 10 games.
How many games did they win last year?
12.
Bro, they added Montgomery, and like I said, I'm not the
and Davis Mills played for a month last year. CJ Stroud was out for a month last season. Yeah. And they started the year like 0-3.
Tank Dell's going to be back. I mean, there's rumors that he's not going to be as good when he comes back or as explosive. The injury,
we'll see. Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you. I think the Texans are one of the best teams in the entire AFC at this point in time. They have the best defense in the entire NFL. Fight me about it if you want. Will Anderson Jr., Daniil Hunter, they add Caden McDonald to that defensive line. The linebacking core, they extended Al-Shaair. You still have Toto. The secondary, one of the best in football. You could argue the best in football. Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Petrie, Caden Bullock. They add in Reed Blankenship. D'Amico Ryan's coaching that unit. The offense redid the offensive line. They still have Ursray at left tackle. You add in Wyatt Teller. You draft Rutledge to play center. At right guard, you have Ed Ingram, who was one of the highest graded guards last season. At right tackle, you brought in Braden Smith from the Colts. By the way, you still have, a ton of guys that are backups. So your offensive line is now 8-9 deep. You bring in Montgomery to have a real run game paired next to Woody Marks. The receivers, Collins, Higgins, Noel, Tank Dell. This team, if CJ Stroud gets back to his rookie year when he was the top 10 quarterback, this team should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl. If CJ Stroud is just who he was last year, this team should win 12 games again. So I'm going to take the over on 9.5. I think if CJ Stroud didn't play a regular season game and it was Davis Mills for the entire regular season, this team would hit the over 9.5.
I mean, I almost want to ask you to refresh that line. Like, it doesn't even make sense how a top 3 team in the conference in a mediocre division their line could be so low.
Again, like what we talked about with Buffalo, New England, this has to be at least 4 divisional wins, right?
In a year where CJ Stroud is playing for a contract extension as well. Everyone needs to remember that. This is a year. Like, I always look at quarterbacks and years, contract years, that always plays a role, because how many times have we seen a quarterback get overpaid in the last 5 years? It's always because when the money starts calling, they want to show up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Houston's in a good spot. And a lot of their tough games are at home, man. Like, they play Buffalo at home, Cincinnati at home, Baltimore at home. Well, yeah, those are tough AFC teams. Up next, we have the Indianapolis Colts, man. Their line is set at 7.5 wins. I actually took the over on this. I think that the Colts are kind of being a little slept on because of how terribly they looked at the end of last season with Phillip Rivers and Riley Leonard. I do think it's important to note when Daniel Jones was healthy, this team was 7-2. And I do think teams were starting to figure them out. But when you factor in the fact that 7-2 pace probably would have had them end the year with 13 wins, now their total is 7.5. Like, this team just has to win 8 games to get over that. They don't even have to be above 500. And they were 7-2 when they were right last year. Again, I don't think that this is a 13-win team. But a 9-win team, yeah, absolutely. And the line is set at 7.5. Like, Jonathan Taylor is one of the best backs in football. They paid Alec Pierce that big money. You have Tyler Warren. You have Josh Downs and Shane Steichen running the offense. I think it's fine, but the defense is kind of underrated, man. Like, that secondary is actually really, really nice. I thought they had a great draft. True. They got C.J. Allen and A.J. Halsey. They play in a division with a Jacksonville team that I thought got worse, a Tennessee team that's still a couple years away. You should probably get 3 wins there. I don't think they have the toughest schedule in the world, playing a third-place schedule. I like the Colts over 7.5, man. What about you?
I'm going to go under. The thing is, the roster isn't horrible, but there's just too many questions with all the injuries, and there's just a lack of depth that, especially on their offense, I just don't trust it. I don't think they'll be able to put up points, even if their defense is mediocre to above average. I don't think they'll be able to put up points. Taylor, I mean, he had a big workload last year, man. Can you bank on him staying healthy? I know it's bad to predict
his health is a concern for me.
Okay, yeah, it's that. Then you got Daniel Jones coming off a season-ending injury. Alec Pierce, if their quarterback is hurt, who's going to throw him the ball? We figured out last year Riley Leonard can't get him the ball. So it's just so many questions on the offensive side of the ball. How are they going to score is the biggest question. You spend 2 first-round picks on Sauce Gardner, and you got a couple of good corners in there, a couple of good rookies as well on that side of the ball. You would think that side, it should be okay. But man, overpaying, like you said, overpaying Alec Pierce. We talked about it as soon as it
I,
happened.
I hated the contract, but when I look at the team for this season, I still think that this is about a 500 team, and
Yeah.
like 8 and 9 gets me a winning bet here.
Yeah, I think they win 6 games. I don't think they're gonna be that good this year, but with a good draft, they can have a good future. Tyler Warren is probably the most not talked about superstar, I would say, at his position. He's top 5. He's top 5, and I don't hear no one talking about him ever. I hear more people talking about George Kittle.
Again, I think it's just because of how last season ended.
Yeah.
Such a sour taste in people's mouths about the Colts, but I do think that they're a better team than credited for. And then lastly, in this AFC South, man, the Tennessee Titans, their line is set at 6.5 wins. I'm under, but this one's real close.
Really? I gotta hear this. He has no primetime games too. That's kind of weird. 2 years in NFL, number 1 pick, no primetime games.
So are you over?
Yeah, I'm over.
Yeah, I'm under slightly. I really I think that this could be like a 5, 6, or 7 win team. So I just had 2 that were under 6.5 here.
Fair.
So
Fair.
Again, the difference probably comes here with the fact that I think that the Colts beat them, and you don't think that the Colts beat them when it comes to their record. To be completely honest with you,
I think they're better than the Colts.
Right, I think the Colts are better than them. So that's just kind of like the big time difference there. I think that the defense is still a year away personnel wise, and I'm not the biggest Carnell Tate guy. I think that it's going to take a little bit for the run game to get going because it's probably not going to be Nick Singleton's backfield right away, even though it should be.
Pollard and Spears back there still.
This team reminds me of the Saints, where I don't think that their record's going to be great at the end of the year. The Saints were 6-11 last year, but I think with the last month of the season, you're going to look at the Titans and go, that's the team to watch next year.
That's fair.
And that's just where I stand on them. So, again, it's a slight under. It's probably not something I'd run out and go bet. But, because would I be shocked if this team won 7, 8, 9 games even? No, I wouldn't be shocked. But the offensive line is still a mess. I think it's still a year away.
Yeah, the offensive line is underwhelming for a number 1 overall pick. And, but I do think Cam Ward is going to take a big leap this season, and that's why I have them over. Yeah. Their defense, it's improved, I would say.
Do you think by the end of this season we'll look at Cam Ward as the best quarterback in that division?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's going to what they've done with him, I thought they were going to go Jeremiah Love, but instead they went the Carnell Tate route. Carnell Tate, he got drafted really high, but I think his number 1 receiver is going to be Wan'Dale Robinson, because a lot of Cam Ward's play is improvising, off platform stuff, and Wan'Dale Robinson is really good at that. Carnell Tate is good at the catch point, his catch radius. And he already has.
Cam Ward's got a cannon on him, by the way.
Yeah.
I know we didn't get to see it a ton last year because there just was nobody to throw it too deep last year. But, them 50-50 catches on the sideline, that's Carnell Tate's specialty.
There's going to be a lot of games where he's going to have 45 to 50 passing attempts. I think I can bank on that. And because, number 1, they're not going to be running the ball in the second half either way. So regardless of Singleton or Spears or Pollard, I don't think it's going to matter. Second half, they're not going to even run the ball regardless. They're just going to let him sling it.
So do you think Tennessee finishes with the second best record in this division?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think that.
I don't think it's crazy to say, by the way. I'm not predicting it, but,
I think they're just
predicting a number 1 pick to take a leap in year 2. I don't think is a crazy take. I think some people are going to be like, no, the Titans for sure 4th, but think about what you're saying. You were saying the athletic, strong-armed quarterback that was taken with the number 1 pick over last year that got a revamped coaching staff and a bunch more weapons takes a leap. That's a logical conclusion to get to.
And not to mention, and my last point is, they have the luxury of going under the radar the entire season, not one game on national TV. They can just be a team you look up at the end of the year and bro, they won 9 games.
And a 4th place schedule.
Yeah, and if they can get that O line together and draft a running back, who knows? I think that's really on the table for them.
Yeah, for sure. Lastly, we move to the AFC West here, what I believe to be the most disrespectful line of them all. The Denver Broncos win total is set at 9.5 wins. I don't understand how. They were the 1 seed last year. The roster got better. I'm easily slamming the over on this. Bo Nix is projected to play kind of even without Bo Nix. If you gave Sean Payton an entire offseason to get a new quarterback in there, I'd still probably take the over 9.5. I think that the run game is going to be better this year with Jonah Coleman in this backfield. They added Jalen Waddle to a receiving core that, I think Cortland Sutton was starting to slow down and is more of a 2 now anyways. You get a 1 in Waddle. The defense was one of the better ones in football last year. They still get high sack numbers with guys like Cooper and Bonito and Zach Allen. In that secondary, you have Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, Jahdae Barron, Talanoa Hufanga. It's still one of the better coach teams. All the reasons that I was high on them last year. They're dominant in the trenches, defensive and offensive line. Bo Nix and Sean Payton, another year together with a better run game and better weapons. 9.5 is massively disrespectful to me. I think that this is probably a 13-ish win team.
Yeah, that line is almost scary because, we all know that they are the team that probably should have been in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And so, why is the line so low?
Are you also on the over then, I assume?
Yeah, but it's it's kind of what do they know that we don't,
Yeah.
because they add a true number 1 receiver, which I know I get it. They're in the division where they're going to have to play in cold weather and stuff. So but that should help Bo Nix, because if there's anyone who's gotten a lot of targets early in their career, it was Jalen Waddle, man. He got thrown the ball a lot his first couple of years before Tyreek Hill got there. So
I think this is the best situation of his career, Jalen Waddle.
1,000. This is a team that was going to be in the Super Bowl last year. Yeah. The Dolphins were never.
But I also think Bo Nix is better than Tua, and I think Sean Payton might be better than Mike McDaniel. He's a better head coach, but in terms of offensive scheming, I think that's closer. Just to clarify to people here, because head coach wise, he's clearly better. But in terms of offensive scheme for a guy like Waddle, I still think Sean Payton could be better.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of deep threats. They have a lot of guys who jump ball, good at the catch point. They really needed an intermediate guy, but a kind of alpha male guy as well. They needed, and he fits that mold perfectly. So it's interesting. I wonder if they're done signing players because there's still a lot of free agents left, and I know they have depth in the receiver room, but maybe on the defensive side of the ball, who knows? There's a couple of names out there in the free agency market.
Yeah, we'll see. Another one that I'm interested to hear your thoughts on, man, the Los Angeles Chargers. Their line is set at 9.5 wins. Where do you stand?
I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over on the Chargers.
I'm also on the over here.
They got so much better. They now have depth now, because before it was okay, this player gets hurt. If their O-line, that's not going to happen to where both of their starting tackles are going to be hurt. That's never going to happen again.
They added so much offensive line free agency and the draft. They said that what happened last year will never happen again. You told me a crazy stat today about Herbert.
Yeah, he got hit 30 more times than any other quarterback in the NFL. I think it was 208, and the next person was at 170 something, and it was Drake May.
And they still won 11 games.
Yeah, so I'm bro, he could win MVP, man, and they got backups for days on the line. If Amarian Hampton gets banged up, Keaton Mitchell is just waiting for the right opportunity to have his breakout season. Take it from me, my team played him twice a year. McConkey, Quentin Johnston, first half of last season was, everyone was thinking this dude was comeback player of the year. Oh my gosh, is he actually worth the first round pick now? So they have weapons for sure. They got guys, that new coordinator in there. He's gonna get Justin Herbert right, man. The defense.
I think the offense is going to be electric. I think that this team, kind of quietly, the last 2 seasons was more of a defensive team than an offensive team, despite having Herbert and a big name. But I think losing Jesse Minter and bringing in Mike McDaniel to be your offensive coordinator, I think this team is going to be more offensive driven this year. I think that they're going to put up a lot of points, and I think Herbert for MVP honestly isn't a bad bet. When you look at
McConkey is going to feast.
Justin Herbert is 5th right now in MVP odds at 11-1. So just kind of something to note there. I actually think that this team might be the team that gets Tyreek Hill too, just because of his experience with McDaniel and the fact that they could use a true outside alpha number 1 wide receiver still, depending on your opinion of Quentin Johnston. But
they just signed David Njoku too. I know.
Yeah.
I like that signing a lot.
And listen, I picked them to finish 3rd in my way too early division previews for anybody who saw that. But I think the smart move is to bet on the over here, because kind of what could go wrong did go wrong for this team last year, and they won 11 games. Like, I think at the worst end, the Chargers probably are an 8 or 9 win team, but on the high end, they could win 12 to 13 games, and there's just more outcomes above this 9.5 line. And that brings us to Kansas City. Their line is set at 10.5 wins, which is a little high. I'm going to say over, because I think the smart strategy for this division would be to take the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs overs, because 2 out of 3 will probably hit. So that's that, and 3 out of 3 could hit, right? Like the Chargers could go 10-7. The Broncos could go 12-5, and the Chiefs could go 11-6, and then you have 3 winners. Like, I think that that's a realistic outcome there. So to me, I would just take all 3 of their overs, because 2 out of 3 will probably hit, and 3 out of 3 could hit. And when it comes to Kansas City, man, like, I do think that this is an 11-6 football team this season as well. By the way, like, my record prediction matches the over. Every single thing that they've given you points to Patrick Mahomes being back for week 1, and it's going to take more than one off season for me to start betting against Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie, bro. Every fiber in my body wants to bet the under, but I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because the defense, bro. I mean, honestly, full transparency, I'm still not that confident in the offense as well. The only reason I think it's even questionable to bet the over that they could hit is because of Mahomes. But last year we saw this exact. I don't know who everyone thinks Kenneth Walker is, bro, but like he had a good playoff run, but he's not this top 5 running back. He's not a Bijan Robinson type of guy.
I'm gonna push back on you here, because I don't think that it's Kenneth Walker specifically that people, and I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, what makes me excited about this offense isn't, oh, they added Kenneth Walker, he's a top 5 back. It's the fact that this will be the best rushing attack of Patrick Mahomes' career with Kenneth Walker and Emmett Johnson. Like, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard rusher behind him in his career. If Ken Walker is a 1,000-yard rusher, which would be a top 12-ish back in football, that is the best rushing attack that Mahomes has had behind him. And defenses aren't going to be able to they have to respect the run. Last year, they were able to sell it against the pass over and over and over again. And if Kenneth Walker is just decent, if Kenneth Walker plus Emmett Johnson is just decent, then that adds a real new layer to Kansas City's offense that we haven't seen since rookie year Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I think they need Tyreek Hill, because
he could go back there.
Because Mansour Delane, he's still a rookie. They're just going to throw him out there in the fire.
I think he's so nasty. I don't know what they're going to do at corner outside of Delane, but I have 100% faith in Delane.
Yeah, but I mean, he still is a rookie corner. Even if he is a good corner, he's still a rookie. They're still going to attack him a lot. This team is going to have to put up a lot of fireworks shows if they want to win games, and they need all the firepower they can get. And they bring in Tyreek Hill, I'm not going to lie. I'll give them an extra game or 2. But 9.5, I mean, come on. I think they can win 10 games. The offensive line is going to be pretty solid. It's probably going to be Kelsey's last year. So they're going to want to go out with a bang. And Eric Bieniemy is back. And you already know how they get down.
So are you over under?
Yeah, I'm over. Okay. I said every fiber in my body wants me to bet under.
Yeah,
they want me to bet under, but man, because that defense is horrible. That's my main reason. I don't think that defense is gonna be good at all.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think it'd be so fun to see Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey for one more season. But I know people that are very happy the Chiefs did not have a good year, and I don't think they want them back quickly.
And I'm always rooting for Justin Fields too. If he gets a game or two this season, man, screw it.
Yeah. The Las Vegas Raiders, man, the last team we're talking about today for the AFC, their over/under is set at 5.5 wins. What say you?
Under.
I'm also under. I like this team's future. I do. I don't think Mendoza plays the first half of the season. Like, I just don't. I don't. Like, I think with Kirk Cousins in this division, like, they're not winning a lot of games.
That's simple as that.
I mean, I also just don't know if Max Crosby's going to be with this team for the long term. Their secondary still has questions. We'll kind of see what Jamad McCoy is. The wide receiver room desperately needs work. Like, their number one guy is Jalen Naylor, and that's what you're going to put a rookie quarterback into. Like, it's just, again, I think that they made some moves in the correct direction, and again, like, throwing him into the fire of a bad season, I get why they're going to be playing Kirk Cousins. I think that this team needs another draft before they're ready to compete in this AFC West. But 5.5, if it was 4.5, I'd probably say, like, I'm not touching it at all. But at 5.5, I do feel comfortable kind of going under here.
Yeah, this season, man, I just hope Genty just, the line.
I mean, they brought in Linderbaum, so, like, he's got to get, like,
and the line got
better.
Colton Miller too, so.
And JPJ is now at guard, his better position.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm watching this season for Genty, bro. Like, and Jamad McCoy.
Again,
he dropped crazy.
I'm rooting for him, but that secondary is still a big question mark. If he hits, then you're like, holy crap, that was still the draft. If come week 4 he's not playing because of knee injuries, then you're back to a really shitty secondary.
Well, he has no injuries right now on the depth chart.
I know.
So he should be good to go. The Raiders, man, I'm just not high on Mendoza regardless. Like, as a quarterback, as the number one pick, I'm just not
I like Mendoza. I just think he's kind of like Goff, right? Where I feel like you have to have good talent around him to get the best out of him. I don't think he's some big talent elevator, but I think in a good situation, he can execute.
Yeah, and like, what do they have to work with? They spent this high draft pick on Genty, bro. They have no.
I mean, you got Bowers. You got Bowers, and Bowers is nasty.
Bowers is amazing, but they have no receivers.
The receivers are bad. Are bad.
And it's not like Mendoza was slinging the ball to his starting tight end a lot in college. He was.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he didn't have Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I also don't love the tackles on this team. So, and again, that division is just nasty. So, those are our way too early AFC over/under win totals. But there's some good value to be gotten in the way too early lines, man. Like, I think Denver getting at 9.5 is an insane value. I think Pittsburgh at 7.5. Sharp money is going to be on the over there. Buffalo at 10.5. I know that that's like a big line. Texans 9.5. I love the over there. Ravens under 11.5. I feel like a lot could go wrong for them, particularly. Jags 9.5. I think maybe we're early on the sell the Jags train, but I think that train could come rolling through the station. So let us know your guys' favorite early AFC lines. We'll be back next week to do the NFC version of this podcast. And then we're kind of rolling into the summer. So again, leave any suggestions that you want us to talk about. If you want us to talk about some of the best teams from the past, some of the best quarterbacks from the past, some teams that we're looking forward to this year for whatever reasons, hot takes, etc., like you name it, we're going to be trying to just kind of get content that you guys want to see throughout the summer to you. So we appreciate the support as always. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that button. If you are subscribed, the thumbs up button is where it's at. Both of our socials are all linked in the description, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Yes, sir.